All right. You may recognize him from his years on air at TSN. Now he's the co-host of the Wally and Methot show, whose first episode premieres this Friday. Today, we're joined by Brent Wallace. Brent, thanks so much for taking the time.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Awesome. So first and foremost, congratulations on the big announcement yesterday.
Thank you. That's an overwhelming response. I was not prepared for it at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, has this been something that's sort of been in the works for a while now, or did it sort of really just sort of all come together in the last week or two?
Let's go. A month ago, I wasn't prepared to do any of this. So it started basically, let's go back. So in the summer, Ian Mendez, who writes now for The Athletic, but at the time worked at TSN 1200, he and I discussed doing a podcast that we'd like to do one together. And we just didn't think the timing was right with both of us working at TSN. And so we shelved it.
Yeah.
But it was in the back of our mind. Anyway, so fast forward to the beginning of February and TSN calls me to say, beat it. And so I was in, for the first few days, I was just numb walking around. But
yeah,
my wife knew that I had thought about a podcast before. And she said, why don't you call Mark Methot? And Mark and I had been buddies for over the years, and we've always kind of kept in touch. And so I think on it's day three or day four, I lose track of time suddenly, but they all ran together for about a month, when I called him, he's like, I've been waiting for your call, Wally. Let's do this. I'm all in. And so we talked right from there for about 45 minutes about what we wanted to do, what we thought the show should look like, and the fact he didn't own a laptop. So we had to get him that stuff. Anyway, he's been all in. And then there's a huge part of our podcast. We call it a show because we want actually it to be a very big visual medium. And if you followed the Ottawa Senator social media account over the past few years, you are aware of Craig Medallia and Adam Wood. They both do phenomenal work. They both left. And so I contacted them, and Craig had actually contacted me, I think the day or two after I got let go. And he's like, if you want to do a podcast, let me know. And I was like, and then I should be ha. Yeah. I forget how the Send Sickos thing goes now. Anyway, so I called him back and he's like, I'm all in. I've been waiting for you to call as well. And I'm like, okay, then I think we got something here. And he's like, Adam Wood wants to be in too. So with the four of us, I feel really excited about what we're probably able to do and the content we're going to be able to provide. And the launch video that we put out really kind of solidified that he does really good work and that people are really going to like the stuff that we can probably hopefully make.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how much negotiating did it take with Mark right off the start there for him not to use his nickname in the title and end up with something like Wally on Meth or something like that? Or did he let the creative control slip to you a little bit there?
So it's going to come up in an episode of what we did to name this show, which you'd think we spent 2 seconds on it by the end of it, but it's been the longest process that we've had to do for any of this stuff that we've done is name this stupid show. Yeah. And we're trying to come up with this name, and it's not. We've got all our family members involved. I really thought we should start with Wally on Meth, but I got shot down pretty quick. And he's got a bad nickname. You can't just joke around with meth.
Yeah.
So, and Brent just doesn't roll off the tongue. So we were hooped from the start. So we settled on this pretty simple logo.
Eventually crowdsourced it to get to the final product there, right?
Yeah. It always came back to it. And so we're like, well, why are we overthinking this? So yeah.
So again, you guys are going to have your first episode launching tomorrow there. Obviously it's going to be hockey themed there, but are you going to be wading into other sports as well too? Or is it going to be strictly hockey talk?
Hey, Kyle, settle down here. We just getting started. So the plan is, all right, let's lay it out. So Friday's show is kind of a get to know us. This is what we're hoping to do. Craig's going to come on. We're going to talk. It looks like he's in a bunker somewhere. Apparently it's his house. I'm not sure. I haven't seen him in months. Yeah. So we're going to chat about what we want to do. The goal is right now, Mark is obviously a former hockey player. That's what he knows. I've covered the Sens for 23 years. It's what I know. So we're going to be heavily Sens oriented. We're going to talk a lot of hockey, period. And eventually we want to branch out into lifestyle or anything else. We're hoping to bring on different guests from all walks of life, if you will, at some point. But we just want to kind of get started. We had no idea the reaction we would get. And so as we get going here, we're hoping to move into a studio space and really kind of bring this thing to life that we think we can do here. And so settle down for now. We're just going to talk some hockey,
Yeah.
and then we're going to get going.
Amazing. So the Send Sickos faithful will be happy with the first couple episodes then, for sure.
I sure hope so. I mean, we need them on board, and I'm one of them now, so we're all in here.
Yeah. So you sort of mentioned it already there, as far as, you just announced it, and we thought, okay, well, they did a late afternoon announcement yesterday. Geez, we've got an interview with them tomorrow morning there. We might be one of the first ones to sort of speak with them about this there. But of course, the aforementioned Ian Mendes is too good at his job. He already has a full piece out in theathletic.com there. And, what sort of advice did, whether it was Ian or even, a former colleague at TSN who maybe had podcast experience already, like what kind of advice did they offer you guys heading into this venture?
Don't. No, I'm just kidding. I did. Ian Mendes is one of my true, really good friends, and he played a huge part in just us trying to come up with names because he's very quick-witted, and we've always had. See, Mendes and I used to sit next to each other in the press box, and we'd take the roster of each team. I don't know why we do this, but we were bored. And we would look at names and just try to come up with different ways, like Nikolai Habibulin would be Nikolai Habiboulin Rouge, or Antoine, the nicest guy I've ever met, or Little Red Vermette, or whatever. We just make fun of names. So I knew I needed to have him on board to talk to me about these names. So he knew we were doing the podcast. He's like, I get to do the first story. I'm like, I guess I can't really argue that. So he had it ready to go. But I've talked to a number of people, like Darren Dreger and Ray Ferraro and Frank Cervelli, who all have podcasts, Elliot Friedman, Steve Warren, all these guys were super good to me. And I can't thank them enough, because you don't know what you don't know it, right? When you first start this thing. And so they've been super good. They've told me, things I need to look out for. And Steve Warren gave me some huge advice that I've followed here for a while. I can't thank them enough. I'm hoping that I don't disappoint them. I feel like we should just shut it down after the video, because it went on so well. I don't know if we can live up to it. So we're probably just good night, boys, and lock the door. But I'm hoping it's enjoyable, it's entertaining, and people get a kick out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys got a wild sort of rave review, sort of broke Sen's Twitter when you guys made the announcement there the other night. Was it a little bit overwhelming with how much outpouring of support? And, I think you went from 0 to whatever you're at now, like 50,000 Twitter followers in less than 24 hours. Was that surprising at all?
So I don't think overwhelming is the right word, because I don't know what's more than that, but it has to be some word, because we're floored. And I think in the first 10 minutes, there was like 12,000 views or something. And I was like, what is going on? And so I spent all day yesterday just trying to reply to people, I was spelling things wrong all the time. My links were like, everything I was doing was wrong, because I just couldn't focus. I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
That response to me, so two things. When I got let go, the response that I got floored me. I had no idea. And it carried me for a while. It still does, actually. And then we launched, and I got the same kind of overwhelming response. I can't thank the fans, and I'll say Ottawa fans, because that's a majority of what it is. Like, you guys have been so good to me. I'll never be able to repay you. I'm hoping this show will provide a little bit of that entertainment that I maybe was able to do before, but like, it's overwhelming. And then some. Mark and I were blown away. We kept talking through the day, and we're like, can you believe this? And then I was like, Craig, get back to work. You got some stuff to do here. So we're just trying to live up to it, but I feel like the bar's been set really high all of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of Mark there, he's sort of going on his own media world tour right now himself there, right?
Yeah. I don't have any more jobs he needs, but he's on the radio today. So he's really good. Like, we've done a lot of rehearsal shows. We'll just record them like we're doing a regular show, and we talk, and we want to keep it to like an hour-long show. But that includes us talking hockey and bringing on a guest. And we're 40 minutes into this thing off the top, and the conversation hasn't stopped. And I'm like, I got topics we still got to discuss here.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get that down. We want to make sure we cover all the important stuff. And then we got to get a guest our first guest it's like the super duper guest. I'm so excited to have this guy. Yeah. So I may have just given it away. It's a guy.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about what we can do. I'm hoping we can shorten it, but the conversations with Mark and I have gone extremely well. There's really good chemistry there, and he's so knowledgeable. I've tried to throw things at him in shows that I haven't told him were coming, and he just, like a water off a duck's back, he just adjusts to it really quickly. And so he's really good, and he takes a lot of my chirping, which I appreciate, because one day he's a big man. He might kill me.
Yeah, yeah. If you guys end up in the same studio together there, you might need to dial it back a little bit, make sure you come across the table.
He's into teas now, so I'll just bring him some new tea from maybe blueberry or something and settle him down.
Mellow him a little bit there.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, little known fact here about Mark is we've had both Mark and his brother Matt on this show, and Matt is a phenomenal hockey player in his own right there.
Yep.
But as long as you're not releasing video, in podcast audio form, their voices are almost indistinguishable from one another. So if ever Mark is out of town or he has a sick day or something there, just parachute his brother in. No one will even be able to tell the difference for you there.
Well, that's good to know, because Matthew's a lot smarter. So any chance I can bring him on and just move Mark to the side. Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Now, we've talked about it a little bit there as well, too, but you and Mark aren't doing this alone, right? You've got both Medalli and Wood are coming in, who, for those who don't know, were former Sens staffers, did phenomenal work in their social media department and all of that there. How did their involvement sort of come about, and what roles do you see them sort of playing moving forward with this project here?
Saving the show. I think that's their official title.
Yeah.
So Craig came on board really early. I think I called him back like within a week or so, at least within the first 2 weeks, because we've been definitely going at this. The last text I have is February 14th when we're discussing names. So it's been a while ago. And he was like, dude, I've been waiting for this. Like, I want to be creative. I don't want any restrictions of what I can do. I've got so many ideas. He's like, this is what I want. And I'm like, okay, but I can't pay you right now. And he's like, it's okay. And I'm like, yeah, but no money. Like, we're not getting any money here. So he's like, whatever you need. And he's like, I've already talked to Woody, and Woody's in. So Woody's the only one that's got a job, but he wants to do stuff on the side. And at the end of our launch video, there is a clip of just the Wally Methot show with music. Well, Woody just built all that in a week. Yeah. And so that's why I'm so excited at what they can do. They are going to be the driving force. And then you're going to see all kinds of stuff on social media. We're going to obviously cut clips down, post memes. Well, he is. Let's be honest here. And they're going to do all that stuff. So I'm just looking forward to hitting the retweet button for the most part.
Yeah. They'll take care of the heavy lift in there, and then it's up to you for the likes, retweets, and shares, eh?
Yeah. I mean, listen, do these hands look like they've done a whole lot of manual labor? No. So we'll leave it up to those guys.
Amazing. All right. Well, I mean, looking back on sort of your time at TSN, though, obviously this is a completely new venture. Are you looking forward a little bit to having sort of that difference in medium where, like you were saying, you've now got an hour to fill as opposed to these 30-second sort of sound bites there, and what you'll be able to do with that creative freedom?
Can I use the word terrified at the same time?
Absolutely.
That it's like overwhelming and excited become the catchphrases I tend to use a lot here, but I am excited to see what we can do and what the potential is to build this show. I really think, and I'm not that smart, but I think you can see conventional media shrinking at an alarming rate, where you see now people are cutting cable and they're going to the internet and they're finding all their sources on the internet. So I'm hoping that we can get in and find our niche and our groove and provide something, which is exciting to build something from scratch, but terrifying when you don't know if it's going to work, or what if people hate the first show and they're like, I'm not watching this. And all that stuff, it's a lot of sleepless nights, good and bad. But I just know the chemistry with Mark has been so good that I think it's successful. I go back to there's a picture that I've posted on, I think it's Twitter and Facebook, of the two of us together. And I look ridiculous with a goofy thumbs up, but it was just taken in a second when we were waiting to switch seats or angles or a camera. And that picture says it all to me of, Mark tolerates me. Looks like it's going to be fun, and let's just go get it. And so that sums up our entire show, I think, in one quick moment.
Yeah. So looking back on sort of the TSN days there, you know,
Yeah.
now that you've had a little bit of time to reflect on it, do you have one or two moments that really stick out to you as being extra special, of whether it's an event that you got to cover over the years or an athlete you got to interview that really will stick with you for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like, if I'm honest and I look back, I'm like, I had a great run. I mean, I got to cover so much stuff, and I've kept track somewhere of the events I've gone to, and I think it's, you know, like 12 Stanley Cups and 10 straight NHL award shows, and I like I could go on all-star games, and I've done 2 Olympics. So I did the Vancouver and the London Olympics,
Mhm.
um, and world championships and world juniors and all over the world. And so I've been really, really fortunate. I will say a couple of highlights. What that if you were to tell me like right away, what do you think of? I think of the London Olympics. One, it's the biggest sporting event in the world, and at the time I covered the women's bronze medal soccer game, which was huge.
Mhm.
You know, Michael Phelps won, I think, 300 medals at one Olympics. And I was there for all of them. And there was, you know, obviously the basketball with the dream team, but Canada had such a successful time there. I mean, the venues would be royal palaces and stuff, and you would just show up at these places, and all of a sudden you're at this royal castle in the middle of nowhere. Like, it was phenomenal what they did at that Olympics. And so I'll always remember that. And two is, I think, the Bobby Ryan interview,
Mhm.
um, not because of me, but because of Bobby and how honest and open he was. I was just trying to hang on and try and think of some intelligent question to ask, which wasn't coming very easy to me. And I knew you could tell what the emotion was from him, and you wanted to make sure you didn't blow it out of the water, that you gave him the respect it deserves and all that stuff. And so that one will always stick with me for sure.
Yeah. Now, maybe on a bit of a lighter note here,
Yeah.
I think you've had it pinned to your Twitter profile for the better part of a few years now. With I think it was a very large Slovakian gentleman who was
Yeah.
not a fan of your sidewalk antics there and proceeded to berate you in a foreign language. You know, was that the weirdest thing that ever happened to you during a segment, or or is that just icing on the cake and there were far stranger ones that actually come to mind?
That's definitely so. I'll explain that one in a sec for sure, because it doesn't make any sense just by watching it. And what actually does happen compared to what you see is completely different. But like, there's times I remember the NHL lockout, I think it was, we were covering AHL games, upstate New York and whatever. And we had to go to a feed point. It was a satellite truck parked on the top of a hill in the middle of the woods. Anyway, where it's like 12 o'clock at night, and the guy says, just wait, I'm covering a fire downtown Syracuse. I'll be there in a second, because he's also a firefighter and a camera guy, I think. It was bizarre. Anyway, he shows up, and we're just smelling like, does it smell like smoke in here and gas and stuff? Anyway, the truck ended up being on fire. So we were like, well, guess we'll move to a different feed point if that works for you.
Yeah.
There's been, you know, like, we've been in buildings you're like, well, I don't think we're supposed to be in here. But the Slovakian guy. So here's what, let me set this up. So Darren Dreger has just finished wrapping up Dreger Cafe with the Hughes brothers.
Mhm.
And then I use the same camera guy. We turn around and I shoot my stand up for whatever the story is for that day. So I'm there, I'm starting to talk. Camera guy's about 20 feet away. And then Dregs is back there talking with the with the Hughes brothers. And the other camera guy, he's packing up. No one pays any attention to me. What's going on? All of a sudden, I just see this shadow coming over this way. And I'm used to people, when you're especially in a foreign country, they just walk around and they want to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But he's not stopping. And the shadow keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I just, this is a ginormous man. And now I don't say a word. I just turn to him, and he starts saying whatever he's saying. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying to me, but I think you're about to kill me. Camera guy doesn't move. He's like, let me know when you need help.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys. Anyway, a couple days later, we're at the rink, and I'm like, you know, I think I'd like to post that on social media, but I want to find out what he says.
Yeah.
So I asked one of the ice crew people where I'm always standing in the Zamboni, and he takes it and he's like, I go, just tell me, are there any bad words? Because I can't post anything that's got bad. He's like, it's not Slovakian, but it's kind of Russian, and I don't know what it is. And there's a game going on, so we can't really hear. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I see somebody else and I ask him, and he's like, yeah, it's a Russian dialect. And I'm like, any swear words? No. Something about girlfriend. I'm like, all right. So I post it, and then I get told that it says, or he says, what is your name? I want you, my girl. Now, if you can extrapolate that from a guy who's yelling at me like he wants to tear my head off,
Yeah.
go right ahead. But I did not see that coming.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
was he propositioning you to become his girlfriend, or
Yeah.
trying to set you up with his girlfriend?
No. He wanted me to be his friend.
Oh, well, there you go. Nothing like making
Yeah.
friends in foreign countries there, eh?
I was like, yeah. So I'll never forget that one. That is for damn sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully your episode on Friday goes a little bit more smooth there, and you don't have any giant human beings interrupting it. But
just
know,
Meth. He's a giant human.
he was ginormous. He must have been at least 6'5" there. But for those that do want to tune in and check out what you're doing with the Wally Methot show, or connect with you guys on social media or anything like that, where's the best places for people to go and connect with you guys?
Dear God, Kyle, we just launched. I don't know what they are. Ask Craig. Okay. There is the Wally Methot show on YouTube. That's where I want you to go and subscribe. And I'm trying to get that lingo down. Wally and Methot show on Twitter, and wallyandmethot.com. Although we have to get it set up. It is registered. We just got to get it linked or something. Ask Craig. And we're on Instagram under wham.show, because somehow Wally and Methot show was taken by the Wally Methot show, Wally, like who got, so I'm wondering if somebody just knew about it and registered it. Anyway.
Yeah. Someone got wind of it there and is now sitting on all the intellectual.
Yeah, they're going to make millions.
Yeah. Okay, so from all of that, pretty much just Google Wally and Methot show. They'll be able to find you. And if they have questions, then go and find Medallia and go from there.
Yes, yell at him. This is all his fault. Yes.
Amazing. Well, Brent, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today. We really appreciate it. And best of luck with the show, because, like the outpouring of support, whether it's been from, Twitter or just the sports community in general, this is clearly something people are looking forward to. So we're very interested in tuning in ourselves as well, too.
Thanks, Kyle. I hope we do you all proud and then don't let anybody down.